You know, when they told me it was maybe my time to speak, I thought, well, that shouldn't be a problem. I've been scribbling down religious notes for years and years. And so I took a look through there, and I was attracted by a title I had written years ago called The Tolerance for Ambiguity. Well, it turned out it was a bigger topic than I could do. And I mean, it's a wonderful topic. In other words, we're always seeking answers, but we end up with ambiguity, and we need to learn to embrace the ambiguity of life. Things don't go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, as a lot of people want them to do. But that's a topic for another day. I'm told that one should start a presentation like this maybe with something humorous. I'm going to do 4 short things instead of that long thing I was talking about. And I'm going to need your questions because, or comments, observations. Otherwise, we'll get through this maybe too quickly. Although we've taken quite a while already. And a lot of the points that I'm going to try to make have already been made better by that story and other things that have come before me. But anyway, this is a political satire. I did not write it, but I found it 20 years ago. It was, the only heading is, on Easter week, a church-going reader sent us this. And it's the 23rd Psalm according to W. Everybody remember who W was? The last time we had a fascist-leaning president who, looking back on, seems pretty tame compared to what we got. Well, anyway, I think you'll recognize a lot of this here. Bush is my shepherd. I shall dwell in want. He maketh logs to be cut down in the national forest. You follow in the 23rd Psalm. He leadeth trucks into the still wilderness. He restoreth my fears. He leadeth me in the paths of international disgrace for his ego's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of pollution and war, I will find no exit, for thou art in office. Thy tax cuts for the rich and thy media control, they discomfort me. Discomfort me. Does that sound familiar? Thou preparest an agenda of deception in the presence of thy religion. Thou anointest my head with foreign oil. My health insurance runneth out. Surely megalomania and false patriotism, that's false patriotism is important, shall follow me all the days of thy term, and my jobless child shall dwell in my basement forever. So I thought that was better than I could write, but any comments? Anybody want to add to that?
Very actual still. All this what you're.
It's incredible, isn't it?
Yes.
20 years ago.
I know it's
a symbol that we do go in cycles. That's a pretty short cycle, but and also on the plus side, there's 2 things. One, we did survive it, and hopefully we're going to survive this one. And if we do, it's going to be partly because we can keep a sense of humor. Even when the world looks like it's going to hell in a handbasket, instead of throwing your hands up and saying, that's it, do the marches and whatnot, but also have a sense of humor about the condition of humanity. So, any more comments on that?
I hope we can laugh about this in 20 years.
Well, yes, I do.
yeah.
Well, another statement, he who fails to study history is doomed to repeat.
Amen. Amen. Yep.
And here we go again.
Here we go again. And, well, yeah, we could go on that. Now, my next topic is, as a searcher, as we all are, I'll get into it in a minute, but the words atheist and agnostic have rolled around in my head for years. And I've thought about them a lot, and not lately, I've been at peace with it, but in former years. Not because they're pretty words, I mean, they're kind of ugly, really, and they're kind of negative. But as the old saying goes, if the shoe fits, wear it. Well, I'm going to say that maybe not. Maybe not. When I think of the people struggling with, and myself as well as other people struggling with the concepts of atheism and agnosticism, a picture comes to mind, and I don't know where it came from, an old movie or a documentary that I saw one time. There's a Eastern Orthodox priest taking a walk with a young man through a lovely garden with the onion-capped church in the background. You know what I'm talking about. Lovely spot, and you wonder, they look very deep in thought. You say, I wonder what they're talking about. And then the camera zooms in, and you can hear, and the young man turns to the priest and says, you know, Father, I have been giving this a lot of thought for years. I have been read the scriptures. I have studied with masters. I've agonized back and forth. And I have to tell you, Father, I hate to admit this, but after all that, I think I'm an atheist. And the priest, without reacting in any dramatic way, not even raising his voice or taken aback at all by this confession, says to the young man, well, please tell me, what God is it that you do not believe in? What God is it that you do not believe in? We as Unitarians, Universalists, are very fortunate. We are seekers, or we probably wouldn't be Unitarians. But in our church, it's not dogma or die. Unlike many other seekers, we can think of God in any way our hearts and minds take us, as you were talking about earlier. We can think of God as being on a throne in heaven surrounded by angels and prophets, or as a cosmic unconsciousness, or the Tao, or Buddha, or Mother Nature, or as indefinable, unfathomable, unnameable, or simply as a breeze on your cheek on a crisp fall day that renews your soul and makes you feel at one with the world. All are worthy. Therefore, I would suggest, if and when any of us or people we know are feeling spiritually low, depressed, not finding any answers, maybe even having forgotten the questions, totally in bad place, and they want to label themselves as an atheist or an agnostic, we might think about that. You don't need to do that, because in so doing, you are reacting to or recognizing others' definitions of God and perhaps giving up on the right to reach your own understanding. Even if it's tough to do so, at least you have that blessing to be able to make your own search. Any comments or questions on that one?
That's a good answer for when they come knocking on your door.
My answer has always been, I believe there are many paths to God.
Right.
I laid that once on I'll tell you a little story. A priest who insisted on remarrying us, even though we were married, but we weren't married in his church. I mean, we were married in an Episcopalian church, not a Catholic church. And so we were going to a Catholic church at the time, and we got to be pretty friendly with this priest. And I used to talk religion with him all the time, and he was, receptive. But I told him that one time about my belief that there's many paths to God, and he said, "Well, Jim, pick one." And I thought to myself, well, why would picking one somehow? I felt like it negated others.
Right.
And so I didn't want to pick one. It's like saying, when you're a kid, what's your favorite color? Well, I like all the colors. So why? It's not necessary. But he thought it was. Years later, I laid that on him. He said, did I really say that? So that was, okay. Moving on to the next subject, which is what? Well, these group of presentations is roughly called Christian Conundrum, which, you can interpret that in a lot of different ways. But why do many people who consider themselves fundamental Christians combine their faith with what could be considered overzealous patriotism. Eager to support ever-increasing levels of spending for the military, these same people resent spending money to help the world's poor to crawl out of desperate poverty, or even poor people in this country. Where is the Christian attitude here? And, quote, being stewards of the world as we were assigned to be in the Bible, why do they not support serious environmental efforts to clean up our world? That doesn't make sense. It's a puzzling conundrum. In short, they seem to be running scared and selfish. Why does not their faith give them strength to be magnanimous and loving toward their fellow man and the environment we all share? And anybody got any answers to that question?
I'm certainly glad to see the current Pope speak out against poverty and protecting our world.
That's good, yes.
Yes.
And I heard a glimmer a couple of years ago that the extreme right
Didn't like it.
was going to come out for the environment. And I haven't heard enough about it, but
That would be nice.
that would be nice. Yeah, it would be. Anything else?
I can only say is that the word hypocrisy is what that is.
Right.
In my own life experience, I've unfortunately been exposed to that through multiple other churches, that those who walk in on a Sunday and listen to the word and walk out and don't practice the word.
Don't practice it at all. Yeah. Did you have something?
Yeah, in regard to the environment, I think it's actually in many ways tied in to the depth of their theology about the world and its place in God's role. And so, for example, in apocalyptic teachings from the Bible, Jesus comes back, the world is destroyed, the world is on fire, that there's wars and rumors of wars, and all of it signals the return of Jesus. So in many ways, fighting to sustain and prolong this earth that we have now is keeping Jesus away. And so it's actually tied into their theology.
Is that not?
They wouldn't see it as hypocritical. They would see it as, we're here to dominate the world. That's the way the Bible was interpreted.
Well, that's one way, but we have to keep it going. I mean,
Yeah,
if these folks would just look at the picture taken from outer space back at this tiny little spot that we're all living on. You've seen that picture, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And
I heard somebody on talk, religious TV just in the last couple of weeks make that very point.
oh yeah, it's we're all everybody you ever knew or heard of or the whole history is right there in that little dot. If we don't take care of it, we'll be going away. Now, I did see a few years ago they had a clever environmental film or a short, I guess like a PSA announcement. The world was speaking, said, well, you may destroy yourself, but I will live through this. Maybe all the animals and all the people, that I'll still be here. Yeah.
George Carlin had a bit where he talked about the audacity of saving the planet. The audacity. Humans think they're going to save the planet. The planet's going nowhere. You people, on the other hand.
Yeah.
I know.
That's the idea. That's the idea. Although we could turn it into a pretty ugly, the cosmos is full of barren things. We wouldn't want to see it that way.
There are a lot of video shorts of famous actors and actresses playing the role of, like one is Mother Nature, one is I am mountains, one is I am the waters of the world, and they're like 2 minutes long, and they talk about what's going on from the perspective of Earth in that very way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be here, but, and I'll heal myself. And you, on the other hand.
Well, how does that kind of philosophy you were speaking about, who people are almost wanting the end times, how does that relate to their wanting to spend more money on the military but not on helping poor people?
Fear of the enemy.
It tickles the
We have to
lizard
be
brain.
ready for the enemy.
Well, that is so ancient. Yeah, the ancient evolutionary thing was that people from over the hill are dangerous. We don't know them, But good God, haven't we got beyond that, you'd think?
I can't answer how it speaks to it, but I get confused because liberals talk about more money for schools, more money for education, more money for healthcare, and the response I often get from members of my own family, oh, that's the liberal answer. They always want to throw money at everything, like money's going to make it better. But I never hear that argument in relation to the military or the police.
No.
They're always wanting to throw more money at
And the argument to come back to them with is, well, you're throwing money at the rich.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got the one percenters and two percenters holding most of the value in the country. Okay, my last item ends with your word, hypocrisy. So this is really brief. It's talking about the virgin birth and such things that are common with Christianity. O ye of little faith, who receives gifts from God and says they must be immaculate. Of course they are immaculate, are conceived and given in love. We need no fancy myths to make each and every child special. All are special. A child who grows to become our religious leader needs no special definition or designation. A child who grows to become our political leader needs no special definition or designation. Have we not progressed from the time of the pharaohs who proclaimed themselves gods? All children are from God. All of us are of God. To kill one another in the name of God is not only the worst kind of sin, it is hypocrisy. Go in peace. That's all I got. Any questions? Yeah.
I'd like to give you a quote from Dwight D. Eisenhower, who was a president, but before that he was a general.
Beware of the military-industrial complex.
No, that's the one I have is every gun that is made, every warship launched, every rocket fired signifies, in the final sense, a theft from those who hunger and are not fed. Those who are cold and not hungry. Right.
Well, thank you for your attention.